Last week, Portugal passed the latest test of its compliance with the terms of its bailout and qualified for around €5.5 billion in further funding from creditors. But what does this vote of confidence mean? Joining me down the line is Jose Brito to discuss. Jose, despite the approval, Portugal Deputy Prime Minister Paulo Portas, who steered the negotiations, told a news conference that the government had failed to convince the visiting officials to ease next year's budget deficit target to 4.5% of GDP from the 4% currently required. So just how important is the Troika's reinsurance in terms of sentiment in Portugal? Did this sort of detract from the positive ruling?
No, not really. I think, first of all, it was a kind of a vote of confidence of the Troika in the confidence of the recovery, because basically what the Portuguese team told the Troika was that there was this recovery going on and getting traction. And so it wouldn't make much sense to ease the fiscal targets when you have improved macroeconomic outlook. More structurally, I think that it's good. It's good that the target has remained at 4%, because more deficit means more debt, and it means also more austerity down the road. And so, in a way, if the macroeconomic scenario holds up, I think it's a good decision that doesn't make it detract anything from the ruling that the Troika just gave to this 8th and 9th review.
The review was supposed to be conducted in July, but political turmoil led to it being postponed. At this time, despite apparent grassroots emerging from the Eurozone, some analysts stated Portugal could drive the bloc apart. Do you believe these risks have dissipated?
Political risks are always significant in the sort of process Portugal is going through, both politically and economically, of course. There's a lot of austerity. There's a lot of unemployment is quite high. People's incomes have been declining, and so there's political risks are always a relevant variable in these situations. But as far as the coalition is concerned, I think now they're much more settled. They have rearranged the cabinet. Now the junior party in the coalition has been boosted a lot. Has very major positions in the cabinet, including Deputy Prime Minister, which is now dealing with all the negotiations with the Troika. And so I think there's now an equilibrium inside the government coalition that will hold it together until the next election, or until any major upset that could occur, and hopefully it won't.
The fiscal stalemate in the US has resulted in a trade agreement between the US and EU being postponed. How worrying is this for the bloc in such early stages of economic recovery? Are there any potential repercussions for the likes of Portugal?
Well, in what concerns the trade agreement, these kind of things, are bound to have more of a long-term effect rather than in a short-term boost to economic activity. And when you look at the eurozone as a bloc, it has a trade surplus, and it's doing very well in what concerns exports. And I guess that the main problem is dormant domestic demand. So I don't think it will play a big role. It's not a big disappointment regarding the ongoing recovery that seems to again getting traction also in the eurozone. As of the shutdown and the debt ceiling issues in the U.S., of course, being the U.S., any kind of turbulence is bound to have adverse effects. In the world economy. So in that sense, it's a worry. It's a worrying sign, and we hope that the American authorities can sort things out, and then we can proceed as before.
The euro is strengthening against the dollar amid the fiscal shutdown. Currency depreciation is not part of ECB policy, but do you think there may be growing concerns for the single currency? Could intervention occur, even inadvertently?
Well, I'm pretty sure that the ECB board is quite worried with the appreciation of the euro, and it's not only against the greenback; it's also against all sort of currencies. and I'm sure they are worried about the impact on that on economic activity. Having said that, I don't believe they will directly intervene in the FX markets, even though you could expect a lot of verbal intervention, not only from ECB officials but also from political officials around Europe, and they will. And of course, the ECB can always deploy some unorthodox monetary policy measures. It could have another LTRO in different conditions. You can try to stop these the fall in the excess liquidity in the euro area, and by trying to inject further liquidity, and they can do it in several ways. They could lower the interest rates, or they can use other sorts of measures such as the one that I've mentioned, and LTRO with fixed interest rate, or any other thing. So I think that if the euro continues to strengthen against the dollar and against a broader basket of currencies, I would say that the ECB will start thinking seriously about reversing that trend with the arsenal that they can use in terms of monetary policy.
Jose, thank you so much for your time and perspectives today. Viewers, we may be approaching the end of the week, but the TV team have plenty more to bring you, so please do keep clicking back. Goodbye for now.